The Chinese and U.S. presidents confer on a range of issues from nuclear security to Syria and Afghanistan, as well as climate change and the South China Sea. A live report next.
Live from Washington, this is the CCTV America News Desk.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Asiye Namdar in Washington, D.C. Dozens of world leaders and dignitaries are in Washington for a high-profile summit on curbing nuclear threats. China's President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Barack Obama have wrapped up their bilateral meeting on the sidelines of that conference, just a few blocks away from CCTV studios in Washington. Let's get more from Nathan King. He's live at the Washington Convention Center where the two leaders met. Nathan.
Yeah, we actually got news from both world leaders before they went off behind closed doors on their one-on-one, and they actually addressed the media and basically talking not just, of course, about the emphasis of the summit, which is nuclear security, but also the wide-ranging problems that, of course, both countries work on as the number one and number two economies of the world. Let's have a listen to both world leaders and what they've been addressing with each other.
The United States and China have established a relationship when it comes to nuclear security, and that includes China's new Nuclear Security Center of Excellence. I believe we can deepen our cooperation, including against nuclear smuggling. Of great importance to both of us is North Korea's pursuit of nuclear weapons, which threatens the security and stability of the region. And President Xi and I are both committed to the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and full implementation of UN sanctions. I look forward to working with President Xi as well on the global economy. As the world's two largest economies, we have a special obligation to find cooperative measures that we can take. Now, as has been true in the past, we will have a candid exchange about areas where we have significant differences, issues like human rights, cyber and maritime issues. Like China and other countries, the United States has significant interests in the Asia-Pacific region. We have deep concerns about our ability to protect the intellectual property of our companies, and we care deeply about human rights.
Many major steps of progress have been taken in our bilateral relationship. We have worked alongside others to make the Paris Climate Conference a success and adopted the historic Paris Agreement. We have worked closely together on the Iranian nuclear issue and concluded and implemented the joint comprehensive plan of action. Our two-way trade, two-way investment, and two-way travel have set new highs, and we have had effective communication and coordination on the Korean nuclear issue, Syria, Afghanistan, and peacekeeping, development, health, and other important issues. All of this demonstrates the enormous potential in building the new model of major country relations and highlights the importance and necessity of an enhanced level of coordination and cooperation between China and the U.S. In the meantime, as you've said, Mr. President, our two countries have some disputes and disagreements in some areas. On the basis of respecting each other's core interests and major concerns, we should seek active solutions through dialogue and consultation. Even when this is not possible for the time being, we should manage them constructively and avoid misunderstanding and misperception or escalation, and prevent big disruptions to the overall interests of China-US cooperation. I'm glad that this time the two sides have issued the third joint statement on climate change, and we have announced that we will both sign the Paris Agreement on April the 22nd. After this bilateral meeting, the two sides will issue a joint statement on nuclear security cooperation and work together to make the NSS a success. We will also actively explore possibilities of deepening cooperation in wide areas, from economy and trade to mil-to-mil ties and people-to-people exchange, from counterterrorism to law enforcement and cybersecurity. And we want to enhance communication and coordination on the Korean nuclear issue and other regional and global issues, and to consolidate and expand our shared interests. I wish to reiterate that it is a priority for China's foreign policy to work with the United States to build a new model of major country relations and to realize no conflict or confrontation, mutual respect, and win-win cooperation. I look forward to increasing communication with President Obama, focus on cooperation, manage our differences, build mutual trust, and set China-US relations on a path of healthy and steady growth. Thank you.
So as you can see, a wide-ranging agenda there between US President Barack Obama and Chinese President Xi Jinping. The one commitment that you may have heard there from both sides is their commitment to sign on to the Paris Climate Convention on April the 22nd. That's the date it first becomes available to sign. Remember, that was agreed, landmark agreement back in Paris last November. Both China and the US very instrumental in that coming together. Why are they signing on the first available date? To set an example for the rest of the world. It was a hard-won agreement. Not everyone got what they wanted, and so they're trying to set an example for everyone to sign on and start implementing it as well, which both sides said they will do, in a way trying to get ahead of time, if you like, and try and beat some of those commitments. So that's something you can definitely hang your hat on. We're waiting for the joint declaration on the Nuclear Security Summit as well. We understand there's going to be cooperation on everything from smuggling nuclear material, trying to stop that from happening, but also other areas of cooperation as well.
This bilateral meeting, Nathan, between China and the United States, clearly significant. They're the world's largest economies, major players on world stage, but there were other meetings happening on the sidelines of the summit. And tell us more about that and the summit itself.
Yeah, Chinese President Xi Jinping had several other bilateral meetings as well, including with the Dutch Prime Minister and, of course, the President of the Republic of Korea, President Park, as well. And as you can imagine, the emphasis very much on the recent sanctions imposed on the DPRK, North Korea, after that potential hydrogen bomb testing and missile launches. There was also a trilateral meeting between US President Barack Obama and the South Korean President and Shinzo Abe of Japan, where the focus was very much, again, on the DPRK, with President Park actually saying if there are any more violations from Pyongyang, then they can expect more serious consequences and even more isolation. So have to wait and see. But lots of obviously talk about the DPRK, which of course fits in very well to this nuclear security summit and worries about proliferation generally.
CCTV's Nathan King, thank you. Well, as you can imagine, there is tightened security in the U.S. Capitol here in Washington while that summit is underway. CCTV's Jim Spellman has that.
Washington, D.C. is a city accustomed to hosting major events and world dignitaries, but the Nuclear Security Summit is on an almost unprecedented scale. Inside this building right now, leaders from over 50 nations are meeting, including the Chinese President Xi Jinping. Security is tight. Parts of downtown Washington, D.C. are on lockdown. The U.S. military, Secret Service, or local police are on every street corner between the summit location and the White House. A police helicopter circles the summit, and emergency vehicles are constantly moving through the area. Obama! We want to be free! Obama! And police have to deal with protests that can pop up almost any time, anywhere. Concrete barriers or metal fencing has been set up to keep onlookers away from the summit venue. A block like this in the middle of Washington, D.C. would normally be clogged with traffic on the middle of a workday. Today, it's locked down, the street's empty. Many roads are closed to create clear lanes for motorcades like this one carrying the U.S. President Barack Obama. A single motorcade can extend for blocks. Most of the leaders will only be in Washington for about 48 hours. By Saturday morning, the city should be back to normal. Jim Spellman, CCTV, Washington.
Another high-level meeting with a focus on peace and stability taking place, this one in Beijing. Chinese Premier Li Keqiang met with a delegation from U.S. Congress. He says he hopes China and the United States can properly manage disputes and work together to maintain peace. He also told them about China's economic reform plan for the next 5 years and said the country welcomes investment from U.S. companies. 18 members of Senate and House attended that meeting. They agreed with Lee that common interests outweigh the differences between Beijing and Washington. In Turkey, a car bombing has killed 7 police officers. A target, a police vehicle in Turkey's Kurdish-dominated city of Diyarbakir. More than a dozen police officers are also among the wounded. The explosion happened near a bus terminal. Turkey's southeast region has seen stepped-up attacks and violence since a ceasefire with Kurdish rebels collapsed last year. Now to a major rescue and recovery operation underway in India. An overpass under construction came crashing down onto a busy street in Kolkata. More than 20 are dead, dozens are missing, and as Somnima Udas reports, the rescue operation was slow to start because of limited access to the area.
An overpass that was still under construction collapsed in a very busy part of Kolkata. This is Girish Park. This is one of the most crowded parts of the city. This is a wholesale market. There's lots of old homes there and also shops there. According to eyewitnesses, there may have been at least about 700 to 1,000 people in that area when that overpass collapsed. Eyewitnesses say they heard a very loud explosion, a boom, and they saw slabs of concrete fall on taxis with people inside. There's chaos everywhere, according to this eyewitness. They saw body parts in the area. There's been the army that's been deployed, also various other disaster teams. We've been seeing them pulling out people, survivors, from underneath that metal and that concrete. Right now, this is very much a developing story, and the army and the officials are there in full force trying to pull out as many people as they can.
Also, some sobering news from the bottom of the world. Scientists predict ice in Antarctica will melt faster than previously thought. That could lead to a rise in sea level of nearly a meter by the end of the century. If we look further into the future, to the year 2500, the melting could contribute to sea levels of 15 meters. The study blames greenhouse gas emissions for the trend. The study was published in the scientific journal Nature. Thank you for watching CCTV America. I'm Asiye Namdar. We'll have much more on the Nuclear Security Summit in Washington and that key meeting between Presidents Xi and Obama at the top of the hour. Stay with us.